This video is a film study look at Sam Darnold and some of his throws, decisions, reactions, and at least one scramble in the Week 14 win over the Falcons, 37-9. Of course, the offense put up 31 points in the second half. An insane switch that had been flipped by Rashid Shaheed's kick return for a touchdown, right? That one allowed Seattle to go up 13-6 on the initial play of the third quarter. The offense went off thereafter. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown. Their next four possessions. It packaged around, I should say, a forced fumble by, whoever it was, Ernest Jones IV, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jerron Reed, or all of them. That was the ensuing defensive possession after Shaheed's 100-yard kick return. I thought Darnold was really efficient in this stretch. He had the 28-yard touchdown to JSN that I'll show you. It's a very familiar play. A critical third down conversion on the ensuing possession to Shaheed for 33 yards. And then, of course, you have the 11-yard touchdown to Kupp. I believe that makes it 30-6 or maybe 30-9. It was a really well-designed play, a pick into the boundary with Cooper Kupp, almost kind of hiding in the backfield for a moment just before the ball was snapped. And then finally, his third touchdown of the game is to JSN. I'm going to call that one super mesh. And at the end of that possession, then Sam Darnold is now 11 of 15 passing in the second half, 3 touchdowns, 182 yards. Seattle had finally got the offense in gear, fourth or maybe fifth gear, and Atlanta just couldn't keep up. We're trying to kind of evaluate Sam Darnold's play here. In some cases, to be honest with you, especially in the first half, he's just not really given an opportunity to succeed. So this is a 3rd and 12, Seattle's first possession. It's a 4-man rush by the Falcons. And James Pierce is just going to win against Charles Cross. I do wonder about Zach Charbonnet's role here. Could he actually help out in the pass pro? But none of these routes really becomes available. I'll generally spot set JSN in yellow. I try to do tight end routes in orange, but in this case it's Cooper Kupp that I believe is where Sam Darnold's looking initially, in the middle of the field. So as the release occurs of the receivers, Charbonnet is trying to look across the formation, probably where these two inside linebackers, one of them is a hybrid, I think Jalen Walker, are lined up. Neither one of those guys rushes or blitzes up the middle. And so Charbonnet kind of slides out into the flats late, and he's matched by this inside linebacker, Ellis. It's 2-man from a coverage standpoint, meaning it's man underneath, and then you have 2 safeties over the top to help out. You do that sometimes, generally a third down coverage. I would say that Charbonnet going out in the flats late, he didn't do anything from a pass pro standpoint, number one. Number two, there's just no route that's fitting in here. I would think that JSN's route on a 3rd and 12 would go over the middle of the field if you didn't have this route by Kupp. I think that's where Darnold is looking. I think that's where the design of the play is, and there's just nothing available to him before James Pierce is on top of him. Like I said, I'll give you the end zone angle. For some of these, the ball is on the left hash. That's where Charbonnet is lined up. Tight end set up to the field, that's Barner. And he's going to stay into pass pro, at least initially. And then release out into the flats, very similar to Charbonnet. The only difference is Charbonnet really doesn't touch anyone. Pierce kind of bullies cross. He actually tries the same move a little bit longer, or a little bit later in this first half. Darnold definitely looking over the middle. Again, the only route there is Cooper Kupp. Nothing available for Darnold, and he has to take a sack. Fortunately, doesn't end up being a safety. We're on to the second possession here, and this is a 2nd and 7. Ball on the right hash. You see this dynamic, this play concept repeatedly in the first half. And what I mean is a play-action boot from under center. Darnold's done a great job in 2025 on these types of concepts. It'll be JSN as the target, working across left to right for Darnold, but right to left on our screen. Tight end is staying into block on the edge defender, Arnold Ebiketie. I'm just not sure what lane Darnold has. Could he probably put a better throw on this, I guess, giving JSN an opportunity to actually catch the football? When you get the all-22 angle, though, you'll see the staggered nature of these two defenders. It's Ebiketie and Ellis. Ellis seemed to be slow playing a lot on run flow away from him. Obviously, there's no opportunity or attempt for Ellis to actually tip this ball, but I think Ellis is in the window enough that it kind of influences Darnold for where he wants to throw it. In this case, it's been a play action boot has been a concept, especially to his left, that he's been devastating on this year. There's 2 windows here that we would usually refer to. We would say that we got the lower window, which is easier to climb into if you're trying to rob a house, that window was not available because of Ellis. And so he had to put it in the higher window. And in my opinion, maybe this ball is a foot and a half too high, or perhaps he could have put less pace on it. But with less pace, perhaps the ball arrives too late and the oncoming defender is able to play a factor as well. This is the same play. It's an 11 personnel play action boot, which I think is really cool in that you only have one tight end on the field. This concept, the clear out to the boundary, and then the over concept from the side, you've seen repeatedly in 2025, but it's a hallmark of the Kubiak system dating back a couple of decades. So there's the run action. When I say slow play, I'm talking about the backside inside linebacker. Walker's flow is here. This is the backside inside linebacker, Ellis, set up into the boundary. He's not flying out of there. He's really slow playing it to be able to play a factor with covering the tight end and or secondary contain on Sam Darnold. I think he's in the window here of trying to throw the football to JSN. I'm not trying to absolve Darnold of any responsibility. Do I think he can make a better throw? Yes, but I think the lean is not exactly what you're looking for there. It's not ideal, I guess let's put it that way. I think that ball is probably a foot to a foot and a half too high. This is the very next snap on the second possession after the incompletion. It's a 3rd and 7. Again, with the ball on the right hash. This is a really nice throw to JSN. So you've got kind of like these double outs or staggered outs. Cooper Kupp is more shallow, and then JSN a little bit deeper out. It's a man coverage by the Falcons. So you see Bates is flying across the field post-snap, but they're lining up initially in too high structure, making it look like perhaps Bates could be responsible for the tight end. But that's not what happens from a Falcons defense perspective. So they've assigned a second-level defender to take on the tight end, who theoretically would be open. And then Bates is flying across the field, but he's reading Sam Darnold's eyes at the same time. And what Darnold sees over to the front side, the top side of our screen, is it's man. So you got a man turn here by the outside corner, guarding Shaheed. Cooper Kupp's route is going to be more shallow. And so Darnold is going to fit this throw in the window between the defenders. And I don't mean between the defenders like in a zone. I mean between the guy who's playing JSN in man. I believe that's 24, but I could be wrong. And the defender who is covering Cooper Kupp. So right here, he can't throw it too far in this direction. He's not going to bring the defender into play. That defender's back is turned, covering Cooper Kupp. But the point is to get it there on time in the open space that is between the coverage. In this case, it's man. Same play from the end zone angle. Here's Bates, who's going to fly across the screen, predetermined in my opinion because it's trips to that side. Same matchup that occurred on the first possession, the sack, the unfortunate sack. James Pierce against Charles Cross kind of tries to give him the same move, inside move, and kind of bully him, walk him back into Darnold's face. No help from the running back at all. Quick throw, there's Kupp. He kind of cleared out this space here, right? Kupp's alignment initially was around the top of the numbers. His route brought him out here, just opened this space up for JSN to access. Again, it's man-to-man. Darnold gets rid of the ball really quickly. Still on the second possession, we got another play-action boot. This one's set up to the field, into the boundary with the ball on the left hash. It's a 1st and 10. Again, out of 11 personnel, you get the same idea where you got run action into this case into the boundary, and the tight end stepping down on the edge defender. I think that's Arroyo. The only difference is it's a fake toss, so it kind of elongates the time, if you will, such that the inside linebackers are trying to figure out, okay, has the ball actually been tossed to the running back or not? But really, we're talking about the same concept. Play action, boot, moving to his left, tight end, like I said, blocking down on Pierce. And this is an out and up by JSN. It ends up being incomplete. I'm just wondering about where this ball is thrown versus where JSN is expecting it to be. So there is a safety. I think it's the rookie Watts who plays a role. But take a look at Watts' angle. Watts getting some depth now, and then he flattens out quickly. And that kind of happens at the same time that JSN turns his route up the field. In my opinion, this ball is to be thrown vertically for JSN. and such that it's not to this side, which is where the ball ends up being. It really doesn't. I think Darnold has probably thrown it away from the safety, to be honest with you. I think he's thrown it away from the congestion, or what looks like to him the congestion of the safety. But as it stands, it ends up being over the wrong shoulder, number one. Number two, probably overthrown as well. It's just a mirrored concept of the incompleted pass to JSN that I showed you 2 snaps ago, or 2 plays ago in terms of this video. So you got the fake toss to Walker to the field, tight end stemming down onto the edge defender. Same thing Barner did. That actually is Barner. Once again, my apologies. I thought it was Arroyo. But stepping down onto the edge defender, same dynamic, same action, same exact action, I should say. Darnold's done a great job this year of throwing these balls, moving to his left. I feel like he's kind of fading a little bit to his left or right, meaning this direction. Perhaps that's why this ball ends up, quote, on the wrong side for where you would want it to be based on JSN. But, the safety's underneath, possibly going to play a factor. That's Watt, and then that is 24 who was guarding him man-to-man. It ends up being incomplete. I think he's 1 of 3 to start the game in targets of JSN. 2 plays later on that same second possession. This is a really interesting play from the standpoint of the location for where Darnold puts the football. There is a fumble at the end of the play by JSN. You almost kind of have this double slant nature with Cooper Kupp, and then JSN set up to the field. Double slant. There's a nickel blitz as well. The boundary side free safety Bates is moving a little bit before the snap. Perhaps Darnold, gained some information or acquired some information from that. This is the nickel who's blitzing. And so Darnold is going to stick this throw to JSN, but he throws it on the quote back side. I don't want to say the wrong side, but with JSN running, an in cut, you would expect it to lead him in this direction, be further in this direction so he could run onto the football. I think, and I can't prove, I think Darnold knows the coverage. He sees that there's, it's essentially zero, cover 1 up to the top with 1 safety in the middle of the field. But when I say zero, I mean there's no help whatsoever here. I think Darnold is intentionally throwing this ball on the back shoulder of JSN such that he can turn and take it back to the other sideline. I can't prove that. That's just my instinct from watching the play. Well, the first time I watched the play, it's what I thought, but definitely after watching it 3 or 4 times through, I feel like if Darnold wanted to throw the football in here to lead him in that direction, he would have. This, to me, seems quite intentionally to be thrown on the back shoulder. JSN, another fumble. I'm not sure how many that is this year. They had it down as an 11-yard game, but it required a 4th and 1 to convert, and I think Atlanta jumped or lined up offsides. Same play from the end zone angle. It's an 11 personnel group with the ball on the right hash. Tight end, almost as always, set into the boundary. And you do get these guys rushing upfield. It's Ebiketie, the outside linebacker, and then Ellis, the inside linebacker, going through the B gap, and that allows for the nickel DB to try to run in through the A gap. This is very Seahawks-esque, if you will, meaning these guys are going to occupy the center and the running back, and since they are occupying the running back and the center, like I said, it allows a free lane for the nickel DB, but Darnold's getting the ball out quickly. Very similar to a quarterback hit that Witherspoon had this week against Kirk Cousins on a ball that ended up being incomplete to Kyle Pitts. As an aside, I did a video on Witherspoon and Emanwari and the quality of their play and how disruptive those guys were in terms of stopping and turning over the Atlanta Falcons offense multiple times. If you haven't checked it out, I'll link it up in the description. In any case, the Seahawks were fortunate here that the ball was fumbled out of bounds, number one. Atlanta lined up or jumped off sides on the very next play, and they tied it, I think, at 3 late in the first quarter. We've moved into the second quarter now. This is third possession. Kind of an ominous moment here. It's been a slow start offensively. Well, it's been a slow start offensively the last 2 weeks, and here we have a 2nd and 13. This is a big moment, in my opinion, a timing route between Sam Darnold and that's Rashid Shaheed up there. In this case, I have JSN spot shadowed in blue. These are mirrored routes, basically. And then you've got out cuts. Maybe JSN is shortening his a little bit more, probably because he's got press coverage, and Shaheed up here to the top has off. Darnold, as soon as he gets to his back foot, knows where he's going with the football. Quickly out to Shaheed. The ball is there. It arrives as soon as Shaheed turns, gives him an opportunity to get the first down. I think he actually ended up 1 yard short. So here's the very next snap, a 3rd and 1 after that 12-yard completion to Shaheed. What's interesting here is that Shaheed's not on the field, and neither is JSN. It ends up being what I call a cheat play, with the running back going out into the flats and the quarterback reverse pivoting and going in the same direction. All of these routes, I think that's White down at the bottom, along with Cooper Kupp, and then the tight end Arroyo. All of the routes are flooding the downside of our screen, the left-hand side for the Seahawks offense. I do wonder if Darnold should be opening his hips a little bit more here. Look at the play fake. It's more vertical, right? And normally these quarterbacks pivoting are that foot is more off of the midline. There's a little bit more of a rotation of the hips turning clockwise such that he'd be able to get out here a little bit sooner. I'm just speculating here. I don't know for sure. But the idea for me is that 1/2 step there, perhaps that he lost, could be a step and a half. He might be further in this direction, perhaps able to threaten the defense a little bit more than he is right now. In any case, we know what happens. Walker in the flats, not open. I believe this is White here with Kupp set up as a blocker on the edge. And the target here is Arroyo, really not open at all. 24 all over him, is able to get a pass defensed. It ends up being deflected. It's a 3rd and 1. I get it. You're trying to get the first down, trying to give your guy, in this case Arroyo, an opportunity to make a play. Just not sure about the decision making. There's really nothing there, right? That's kind of my point. I actually said this a little bit earlier in the video. In this first half, it's not like there's tremendous opportunities out there on the field for Sam Darnold, other than the ball he threw down the field to JSN. In the end zone, maybe could be put in a better location. To me, the Falcons defense did a really nice job at times of giving Darnold either no windows to throw through, or in the case of this play, no space to try to make a play with his feet. This is the next possession. It actually occurs after the blocked field goal, by Nick Manwari. So 3rd and 3. We're going to get a back shoulder throw to Rashid Shaheed at the top. Got an in cut at the bottom by JSN a little bit later. It seemed to me like Darnold was a little bit more focused in getting the ball to Shaheed. Maybe that's a matchup thing. In this case, he gets stabbed or punched immediately by the corner, and that kind of interrupts his release. Talking about Shaheed. Maybe that influences the throw a little bit later on. I do think that Darnold put this in a location where it's possible to catch the football. Give you the end zone angle, and I actually covered this one in a video about Rashid Shaheed earlier this week. Like I said, I'll link it up in the description if you want to check it out, if you haven't done so already. I didn't really see a reaction here by Darnold that illustrated to me he had any thought about coming back to the other side, meaning where JSN is. JSN is located, off screen to our left. Again, Shaheed is down to the boundary to the right-hand side, off screen for us. The boundary side safety, Bates, was oftentimes threatening these blitzes, and it seemed to me, and I actually said this in the Shaheed video a couple of times, it seemed to me to be linked to opportunities to throw to Shaheed, whether it was deep, intermediate, or something short like this. It's a back shoulder throw. In my opinion, Darnold puts it in a spot where you can actually, make a play on it. Track it a little bit here, slow motion, and give Shaheed an opportunity. It just seems like for whatever reason, Shaheed's not ready for it. Maybe Darnold threw it there too early, but again, keep in mind, it's a 3rd and 3, so it makes me wonder about either A, the depth of the route that Shaheed took it to, or B, the jam at the beginning of the snap by the corner really impeding the release. In any case, it forced a punt, and Atlanta is able to take a 6-3 lead thereafter. 2 really nice plays here to finish the half for Seattle and end up pulling into a 6-6 tie. Both of which are Darnold, but one involves Rashid Shaheed. I think the ball is snapped with like 22 or 25 seconds left in the second quarter. Atlanta at this point is still up 6-3. So you get this stunt by the 2 defensive tackles that is really cool. 2 edge defenders basically on outside contained type rushes. Darnold initially is looking to his left. Maybe the field side safety. And then this stunt works from the standpoint of how it clears the center out of the way. So being occupied by the nose tackle and then a pick or slam down by that defensive tackle allows this guy to loop all the way around. Gray Zabel has the awareness and the agility to pick it up. But the guy who ran the pick clears the center out of the way, and so Sam Darnold's got immediate pressure in his face. I know I slowed it down to show it to you guys. Here it is, a little bit quicker. Darnold at the top of his drop. Zabel's going to pick this guy up and at least funnel him out of there, but Darnold is gone, meaning he's got an edge defender to the top side. Maybe he's got some awareness of, but he certainly has awareness of this defensive tackle with a dead-on run right in his face. And so Darnold takes off, like I said, about 25 seconds left in the half as this one is snapped. If I have the correct information, I think he's able to get 11 or 12 yards. The very next snap is critical to Seattle, getting a field goal here to tie it. It's a 16-yard gain on an in-cut, a dig, if you will, by Rashid Shaheed. Clear out concept from Kupp. This one ends up being pretty easy for Darnold, if you ask me. You've got a vertical by JSN up to the top side. It makes it look pretty obvious when you've got a corner, Terrell, in his face and a safety lined up directly over the top that the Falcons, are not going to let JSN hurt them on this particular play. So here's the corner, outside leverage. There's the safety over the top of JSN, totally ensuring that they're not going to get beat by a vertical there. Kupp's route is not only taking the defender with him who's playing a man, but also kind of occupying this second-level defender. And what that does is it allows Shaheed to fit underneath. You get a one-man rush from the Falcons. It's like, thank you for giving us a whole bunch of time. And Darnold rips this one, maybe slightly low, but I think he's trying to protect Shaheed, number one, from the middle of the field defender, the second-level defender, I think it's number 29, and allow him to get down, so that they can call a timeout and or stop the clock. Same play from the end zone angle. Here's Kupp. He's just off screen for you guys at the 9 o'clock position. He's going to run a seam route, a climb, and that's going to occupy this middle of the field defender at the second level, and then Shaheed will fit late. Now, Sam Darnold does kind of look for a moment over to JSN's side. I think he's doing it now. And so it's Jesse Bates that's over the top. Remember, he was stacked on top of JSN's alignment to help out A.J. Terrell. There's the second-level defender being kind of pulled or influenced by that route from Kupp. This is just a JSN route, if you ask me, except the difference is it's Rashid Shaheed running it. Total, easy effort, I should say, by Darnold because he got no pressure at all, able to sit there and bounce, throw the football. Like I said, they got 16 yards, able to make it a 6-6 tie at the half. We know what happened on the first snap of the third quarter. Shaheed took it to the house. I think I've got 4 more plays here to you for you to check out. This is kind of typical of one of the ways that Kubiak has attacked from under center this year, particularly out of 12 personnel. So what I mean is you're getting this vertical by the number 1 receiver. Sometimes it's to the same side as the 2 tight ends. Oftentimes you've got 1 tight end on the left and 1 tight end on the right. In this case, they've packaged both of them together. And then this kind of over route from the far side, it's JSN. It's a consistent theme that you've seen this year. I suspect that it's one of the reasons why Darnold is leading the league in yards per attempt and yards per completion is because of so many plays like this one where you've got a clear out that kind of carries the corner and occupies the middle of the field free safety. In this case, it's Jesse Bates. And that allows JSN to run all the way across the field into the open space. It's been vacated by, again, what I would refer to as a clear out route from Rashid Shaheed. The cool thing is in this game, and I actually talked about this a little bit in the video on Rashid, those 2 guys being used together interchangeably, I think creates an exponential level of danger for defenses trying to deal with Seattle Seahawks. This is a really cool formation from 11 personnel. Similar concept as to what I just described, in that you're getting a clear-out route by Shaheed. The only difference is he's in the slot, and then JSN's going to fit underneath. This is, of course, his touchdown, I think, for 28 yards. What I really like about this one is it's 11 personnel, but you put 2 backs in the backfield. Doesn't make sense, right? Because you don't have a fullback on the field. Well, the tight end is masking himself as a fullback on this play by alignment. And I think that elicited this blitz from Atlanta. And so what I mean is this inside linebacker blitzing, and then Bates, in my opinion, is walking up to play man on the tight end since the inside linebacker, is absolved of any coverage. It's a quick drop back play action. So he's not booting off of it. It's not a 7-step necessarily drop in terms of the depth. He might have actually taken 7 steps. But since Bates dropped down, it really opens up this window for JSN to fit over the top of. Automatic throw from Sam Darnold. JSN wins against Terrell. 28-yard touchdown. Really allows them to take control, pushes the lead from 13-6 to now 2 touchdowns. 2 more plays here, one from the third quarter and then one from the fourth. This is a 3rd and 6. I thought this was critical for Seattle. They had just tacked on a field goal, I believe, after an interception by the Falcons. I think it's Nick Manwari. And so this one allows them to push the lead to 30-9. So it's 21-point differential. And for all intents and purposes, the game was over already. But 3 touchdown lead with this defense, it certainly is. I love this concept because it utilizes JSN kind of like in an inverted manner. He's the clear out concept here. And the second part of this that I really enjoy for this play is the route that Cooper Kupp runs. So you're getting a clear out by JSN that I kind of already talked about. Shaheed on kind of this climb concept. So climb meaning he's running vertical from one side of the field, but ending up deep on the other side, the opposite side of the field. And Cooper Kupp's route is going to occupy or ensure that this flat defender isn't able to fall off and get underneath of JSN's route. Now, he would have a long way to go in order to do so, obviously, but Cooper Kupp runs his route directly at him, meaning he makes it clear and obvious that once this defender turns and looks, he's got a flat route that Cooper Kupp brings to him, and that ensures that Shaheed is going to be open. Basically, you got an over-under concept. Here's the over route, or the vertical route that is over the top of the second level. Here's one that's underneath, and then Shaheed fits between those two. Really cool. Easy for Sam Darnold because he had, pretty much no pressure initially, but he does have to throw the ball a little bit leaning back because of a defensive tackle trying to execute a bull rush underneath. I think that one goes for 33 yards to Shaheed. I'll give you the end zone angle of it. Shaheed, of course, had his biggest impact in the pass game, 4 catches, I believe 67 or 68 yards. Again, you got Bates kind of walking down into the box pre-snap, and then he's going to fly out of there, and he's going to run with, or stay on top of, I should say, that vertical by JSN into the boundary. This is the second-level defender that'll be occupied by Cooper Kupp's route, and it makes it a pretty simple throw for Darnold. He's not really able to step into it completely. You can see his weight kind of holds a little bit here because of this movement up the middle. That might be actually James Pierce. Shaheed running the vertical, the over concept, while JSN runs the vertical. That's the interchangeable nature that I think they bring. I would love to see them utilize that a little bit more often. Not that we don't want to see JSN finish every week with 8, 9, or even 10 catches, but the idea is that Shaheed can get down the field and threaten defenses, particularly if he's getting their number 2 or number 3 corner in much the same way. Finally, this will be the touchdown. The final touchdown, I believe, that pushes it to 37-9. I skipped the touchdown for Cooper Kupp. Maybe I'll cover that in a separate video. This is really nice recognition, if you ask me, mid-play by Sam Darnold. I'm going to call this super mesh. And so what I mean is you do have Kupp in the backfield, but you've got two mesh routes. So we're talking about Barner running it a little bit deeper than what some mesh versions have. Those 2 routes that are illustrated in yellow, JSN and Barner, that's what I would classify as mesh. And then on top of that, you've got Cooper Kupp sliding out from the backfield. He's stacked with the running back, Charbonnet. So I'm calling this super mesh because those 2 guys are lined up together on the same side. And so Cooper Kupp is going to occupy one of these defenders, and then the second defender is going to be pulled up when Sam Darnold starts to break contain. Find JSN over the middle. Of course, the design of the play is not such that Sam Darnold would have to, step up, but you've got 2 edge defenders here getting some pressure off the edge. So Darnold recognizes that or maybe senses it, able to step up and get the ball to JSN. I really like this concept. It's out of 11 personnel. I wonder about, to be honest with you, having the running back, instead of releasing here, having the running back run this wheel that you normally see from mesh, most people call it, mesh rail. Then you have the other running back, in this case Cooper Kupp, running that. It could really clear out the middle of the field in a much more efficient manner, possibly. First defender is going to go with Kupp, and then the second defender is going to be the guy who's going to step up to deal with Darnold once he escapes. I think it's JSN's 9th touchdown of the year. You can't really call it shocking in terms of the offensive efficiency that Seattle put up in the second half because, they've got scoring ability, so many talented players. And in this case, they all had an impact. JSN, Kupp, Shaheed, who, like I said, I did a video about earlier this week. The running backs only finished, I think, with 107 yards, rushing yards total for the game. Sam Darnold added 23 or 24 himself. In the second half, Darnold was 11 of 15 passing, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. Second week in a row where the offenses, kind of struggled in the first half. His QB rating overall for this week was a 111, I think 111.7. That's now the 8th time this season that he's finished above 100 for a QB rating for a game. He's at a career high, in fact, for QB rating, 103.8. That's actually better than last year in Minnesota, right, when he finished with 35 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. The only complaint I think you can have this year is turnovers. He's got 11 interceptions. His quarterback rating would obviously be way higher than a 103.8. The Rams game is the outlier, right? No touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That really hurts him statistically. And then, of course, your opportunity to actually win the game. I think Seattle finished -3 from a turnover margin. That game is not this week. It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks out technically, but really it's just next Thursday, so it's less than 7 days. If he can avoid turnovers against the Rams, if you can not turn the football over against that team, great opportunity to win that game, in my opinion, by a touchdown or more. He still leads the league in yards per attempt, yards per catch. And then one other category that I think is extremely important is that he's only been sacked 17 times so far this year. I'm not saying he leads the league in that. I'm just illustrating that that's a number, a statistical marker that can give us an idea as to what's leading to this type of production. 13 games, only sacked 17 times. You can compare that to 2024 with the Vikings. He played 17 games and was sacked 48 times. I do have one more video perhaps on the Seahawks to put out, maybe Saturday morning if I get the opportunity to do so. The rematch with the Rams will occur not this week in Week 15, but next week technically on Thursday night in Seattle. That's a game I'll be able to cover and do a reaction video on. I can't wait to see it, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a war. It makes me wonder, watching the second half of that game, what McDonald and Durde did on defense makes me wonder if they're not going to come out in a more aggressive fashion on defense in terms of playing man-to-man and trying to get some pressure. In any case, Sam Darnold and those guys get another opportunity this week at home, to stack up another win before that rematch. You want to see them generate things offensively like they did in this game, but avoid the turnovers while doing so. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comment section. It's a little bit late, probably a day late as far as my intentions every week in terms of quarterback film studies. And if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this video that focuses on Sam Darnold, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.